I said something earlier this week that made a lot of 49er fans say that I was absolutely crazy. I want to get Michelle's take on that. Plus, Vegas absolutely loves the 49ers. We'll explain coming up. What is good, everybody? Welcome to another Gold Standard podcast on the Gold Standard Podcast Network, part of the Pro Football Insiders. I'm Rob Stats Guerrero alongside Michelle Maju. What's up, Michelle?
Hey, it's Friday. Got my mimosa. I'm ready to talk some 49ers.
This is our last show before training camp begins, Michelle. We made it.
Almost. We've almost made it.
Well, as long as they don't delay the start of camp next week, as far as I'm concerned, we made it. You know, I was scrolling through, just looking at my TikTok videos that I made throughout the off season, and whoo, man, it was dark. To see the way I was feeling in February and March compared to now, it's like night and day.
We're very, very close. We're going to have real football here in 12 days? 13 days?
Bring it on. Scott Hansen is back doing red zone, which we didn't know if that was, going to happen because he had to negotiate with the NFL. It was a very scary time for a little while here, but we are back. Training camp starts on Tuesday. Alfred Collins' contract is signed, sealed, and delivered. The only thing that's hanging over the team is Jauan Jennings, and I don't think that's that big of a deal at all, Michelle.
I mean, what's Jennings going to do? Not play? He has no leverage whatsoever. I don't think a team is dying to trade for Jauan Jennings. I don't think the 49ers, they just gave him an increase last year. And okay, you had a decent season, but it wasn't like he put up 1,500 yards or anything. I don't know. I don't think he has any leverage at all.
I don't think he has that much leverage. I don't think the Niners are inclined to do it because I think they kind of see, like, if everything goes the way they're hoping and the way it's set up to go, he's not going to be wide receiver 1 by week 8. He's not going to get the targets and the receptions that he got last year. So can you afford to pay somebody that's not really getting a ton of targets more than the $7.5 million he's already going to get this season?
No. You just, if you want to give him a little bit of an increase or a little bit of a bone, I don't know. They can figure out something, but Jauan Jennings coming out right now and saying this, right now, this year, you have an opportunity to take over this wide receiver 1 role, ball out, and then you ask for your big pay raise. Why are you begging for it now? Why would you be begging for a trade when you're in this prime position to go show what you can really do and earn that money, right? So I just think this is a silly time to be doing this. I would have, if you believe in yourself and you think you're actually going to be great this year, then you'd be wanting to wait till next year because you would make so much more money.
And I think that's what the 49ers are going to say. Maybe they give him a little bump and they say, okay, well, here you go. Here's a little extra coin. Next year, you'll get the bag on free agency. Not from us, but from somebody else. Quick question before we get rolling. Adam Walker says, whatever happened to Michelle's fantasy football rankings? They were the highlight of the Gold Standard offseason content for me. Well, Adam, you were one of 100 people that enjoyed those rankings. I loved doing them. I loved hearing them. If you want to do them again, Michelle, we'll certainly have time before the season begins.
Well, if you don't want to do it on the show, because I don't know if we'll have actual time with training camp starting, but I do host a fantasy football show on Locked On Fantasy Football. It posts every day, and all my fantasy takes are over there. So go listen to that.
We'll get to some 49er fantasy football stuff, and we're going to hit some over-unders today. So that sort of ties in. What up, Johnny Dell? Appreciate you watching after Johnny and I did our Jauan Jennings film breakdown. I say it's Johnny's film breakdown. I'm sort of along for the ride, let's be honest. But that is up on the channel as well. All right, let's just dive into it. And this sort of whole thing got started because Levin and I were talking about some contract incentives for the 49ers. And one of the incentives that he and I disagreed on was Bryce Huff. Bryce Huff has a contract incentive. I think he gets $500,000 if he gets 12 sacks on the year. And to me, I was like, I could see him getting that, no problem. And Levin thought I was absolutely nuts. And a lot of other people in the comments on the video thought that I was crazy too, Michelle. 12 sacks for Bryce Huff. Is that out of the question to you?
It's not out of the question, but it's definitely not no problem easy. I think it'd be a big shocker. I mean, his career high is 10 in 2023 with the Jets. He had 2.5 sacks last year. I do really, really like Bryce Huff. I love this signing. His quarterback pressure rate is through the roof. His average get off is among the elites. Like, I think he's a very, very talented pass rusher. And I think he can get a bunch of sacks. But also, we just don't see anyone outside of Nick Bosa load up on a bunch of sacks, right, for the 49ers in his time. And also, only seven players had at least 12 sacks last year in the NFL. So saying that Bryce Huff is going to be, one of those few, handful plus of players to get those 12, also expecting Nick Bosa to get there too. Like, if there's only 7 in the league last year and you want 2 of those guys to be the 49ers and you say he could do it with ease, that's a bit of a hot take for me.
That is wild that there were so few guys with 12 sacks. Like, that really shocked me. So maybe I do need to recalculate this a little bit. Look,
I think we should be happy if he gets 8. Like, I think 8 we should be really happy about.
Oh, I would be disappointed with less than double digits from him. I saw Drake.
He's also going to be splitting time with a first-round pick, an 11th overall pick.
Yeah, but they could also move Michael inside, and they could put them on the field together at the same time. So it's not like one has to steal snaps from the other. Drake Jackson got 3 sacks in one game. That's a third or a quarter of the way there.
Yeah, and then what else did he do the rest of the time?
Right, but they still counted it. He stunk. He still got 3. He didn't even do anything. He fell into those sacks against your Pittsburgh Steelers, as a matter of fact, which we can talk about that a little later in the show too, because you got your boy TJ Watt back.
Woo.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. So you think I'm kind of in the wrong there and maybe need to recalculate that. That's fine.
Do I think there's a possibility? Yeah, but I would definitely put it below 25%. And you're saying with ease.
Yeah, I think I do. I hope. God, please let him do that. Khan says, Rob has hope. Don't crush his dreams. Yeah, thank you.
Like, TJ Watt last year had 11.5 sacks. You think Bryce Huff is going to have a better year than TJ Watt? I don't know.
Johnny Dell says, even D Ford only had 6.5 snaps in 2019 in 11 games in the same role. Yes, that was 11 games. So that's significantly less. Also, I believe D Ford, due to injury and role, was only on the field for 22% of the 49ers snaps that year, which is crazy to think about, that he had 6.5 sacks playing that little. But hopefully, I'm hoping that Bryce Huff can be on the field.
Who is that random guy that you were like, so it was a couple off seasons ago that they signed, and you're like, he could get, 10 sacks or
no. Was it Kamoko Toure? It might have been him.
Yes, it's him. And he got 0, I think, on the year.
I was saying 5. Okay. Like, you always do that. I get excited for a player, reasonable excitement, and you make it seem like I'm putting him in the Hall of Fame.
That year he had 1 tackle, and you said he could get 5 sacks.
Yeah, I was incorrect. It happens. It's not the first time.
You get over. So, like, obviously, Bryce Huff is a way better talent than whatever his name is. He's not even in the league. I don't even think anymore. What was his name?
Kamoko Toure. I think
Kamoko Toure. Yes. And you overhype everybody, no matter what level they're at, right? So I think with Bryce Huff, you're overhype. He is. I'm really excited they signed him. I think he's a great role player piece to add. This is the type of players they needed to add to this roster. This is what we've been begging them to do, to add these really solid role player type of players. But asking for 12 sacks and saying he should be able to do it with ease is a wild expectation. And you saying you'd be disappointed if he had 8 sacks. Yes. That's just you're asking too much from him. I think we should be very happy if he has 8 sacks.
First of all, the year before Kamoko Toure joined the 49ers, he had 5.5 sacks. His rookie year, he had 4 sacks. So it wasn't some pie in the sky idea.
And you definitely said 10 because you didn't say, if you said 5 and you already had 5, I wouldn't have poo-pooed on it.
You did poop it. You're very quick.
We're going to have to go back to the episode and listen because you were absurdly high on Toure.
God, we have to. I mean, I got to dig that up. So I don't know that was in any of the episode descriptions, but we'll have to wait and see.
And so it also comes down to, yes, you're not going to feel great about Bryce Huff getting 8 sacks if Nick Bosa did what he did last year and only got 9, right? If Nick Bosa is struggling in the sack total and Bryce Huff only gets 8, sure, you might not feel great about that. But if Nick Bosa has a baller season because he gets to play with maybe Michael Williams is really good and takes some, focus off of the offensive line and with Bryce Huff, and maybe Nick Bosa can get his 15 sacks. I think if Bosa's at 15 sacks and you get another 8 out of Bryce Huff and maybe 6 to 8 for Michael Williams, like I think that would be a very successful season for this edge rusher group.
I'm hoping that the combination of Huff being on the field, Bosa, and the rookies that they drafted being a lot better than the guys they had last season, that a rising tide lifts all boats, that you get a better season out of Bosa, you get a legitimate season out of the guy rushing the passer opposite Nick Bosa, and you get Michael Williams, Alfred Collins, and CJ West doing better than Jordan Elliott and, Kamoko Ture Jr. that basically the 49ers had on the defensive line last season.
It has to be better than last year. That's why they did this whole completely busting up this defensive line, changing it up, and they needed to move on from these guys because they weren't getting the production. And then they didn't necessarily, we don't know if they backfilled them or, with the correct players, but I don't think it could be any worse.
Please, let's not test that theory. Okay. I really don't want to see if we can, find out if it's going to be worse. The 49ers defense was just number 31 in points per drive allowed, number 30 in red zone trips per drive allowed. We know the red zone defense was putrid. It was just all kinds of bad for the 49ers. So that, the improved players combined with Robert Saleh being there, hopefully a better scheme, all those things I hope are going to lift the 49ers defense this season. Sean Turner likes your fantasy content, by the way. He says Fire and Ice is a must follow during the season. Thanks, Michelle. What is Fire and Ice for anyone that doesn't know?
So it's basically I put every fantasy relevant player into categories using emojis, but there's a fire emoji. There's a thumbs up. There's do not play. There's the freezing cold freeze take for the players I think are going to have a bad game. That's the ice. And then the do not sign, do not play at all. But anyways, I go through literally every single player and I have the top starts the week and the worst starts. That's over at PFF that I'll be posting that.
And now we have started the name a random 49ers pass rusher competition in the chat. Heineman on Twitch says Cassius Marsh would get at least 15 sacks. There were some names, man. Marsh was definitely a guy. He would always have a good preseason, and then 49ers fans would love him, and then he wouldn't even make the team. Anyway, okay. So this Bryce Huff discussion just got me on the track of, hey, let me look at some other 49ers sort of over-unders, because that's essentially what the Bryce Huff discussion was. And let me see where we are. And it's worth pointing out, Michelle, Vegas loves the 49ers this year. They have a 10.5 win total. They have the best odds. They're the favorite to win the NFC West. The odds to get the number 1 seed in the NFC are plus 600. I believe that's second in the conference behind only the Philadelphia Eagles, the defending champion Eagles. The odds to win the NFC are plus 1,000. That is fourth. It's Philly, Detroit, Washington, and then the Niners. And they have plus 2,000 odds to win the Super Bowl title, which I believe is sixth, although don't quote me on that. I may be wrong. But Vegas loves the Niners this year.
And it's shocking, right? Because you look at the roster on paper and you're like, there's a lot of scary units here. And they only had 6 wins last year. They're putting a lot of faith in the schedule being easy and Kyle Shanahan getting this team back on track and everyone staying healthy. Mm-hmm. And I'm just shocked, even with them being plus 150 for the NFC West title. And with the Rams there, I would bet on the Rams to win the NFC West title.
If you want to make that bet, the Rams are second. They're at plus 195. And then the Seahawks and Cardinals are tied for last, basically, at plus 475. So that's the NFC West odds. I mean, it's crazy when you consider the Niners only won 1 game in the division last year. 1. And yet they are the favorite to win this year.
Now, we've talked about how all those games were very, very close. It was basically like a flip of the ball, like a ball just bouncing the wrong way and most of those losses. So I definitely expect them to be better in the division. And we saw how good they were the 2 years prior in the division. They were just killing everybody. It's just, I think Vegas is liking them a little too much.
Look, they don't have all those palm trees and casinos there for getting stuff wrong, right? Usually they're pretty accurate. So that does fill me with a little bit of hope. Vegas has no bias, right? You could say I've got the Homer goggles on and I'm looking through 49ers colored glasses, and that's fine. Vegas doesn't do that. and they think they're going to be pretty good. So that makes me feel like I'm right and you're wrong. And if anybody should be getting poo-pooed, it's you.
Listen, Vegas is normally right, but they're normally also know how to like suck people in to bets, right?
Fair.
They know how to make people lose. So they're like 49ers fans are the cockiest of them all. Let's put these numbers super high and they're still going to go over.
Yeah, but you would think that putting the Rams second would get people to bet on the Rams, right? Like you would think they'd be doing that with the Rams number by making them not the favorite to win the NFC West.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm putting a bet down on this division, I'm taking the Rams. I just think the Rams are a better team right now than the 49ers.
I'm not so sure about that. The Rams are good, don't get me wrong, but like everyone craps on Brock Purdy's year last year, for example. He put up more touchdowns than Matthew Stafford did. And this is like, oh, Brock Purdy was so terrible last year. So,
I do think Stafford's overrated, but you also really love Stafford.
I do.
But I think just overall, their defense looks like it's going to be a really thriving young defense. There's some pieces there that I just feel more confident in. Their wide receiver room obviously feels much better than the 49ers. Kyron Williams is really, really good. Their offensive line, I feel like, is pretty equal to the 49ers. So there's just, I don't know what the argument is to have the 49ers as the best odds to win.
It could be just as simple as Vegas says, hey, the talent gap in these two teams is not massive, and the gap in the schedule is much bigger because the 49ers have a super easy schedule. So any other schedule compared to the 49ers looks much more difficult because they've got the easiest one. When it comes to Brock Purdy, since we were just talking about him, let's get into some of his over-unders for the season. These come from DraftKings, for anyone that's wondering. Let's start with the passing yards. His passing yardage over-under total for this year is 3,800.5. If you're watching on the stream right now, you can see his numbers passing-wise, yardage-wise, I should say, for the past 3 seasons, his only seasons. And 3,800.5, Michelle, what do you think?
What do you think? You go first.
Well, so just quick math. If you do 3,800 and you divide by the number of games, that's 223.5 yards per game that Brock would have to hit. That is lower than what he has done in each of the past 2 years. Now, his first year you kind of throw out because he didn't play a full complement, but he threw for 267.5 yards in 2023, 257.6 last year. So he's eclipsing that number. And again, last year, all the injuries, all the stuff you want to say about the 49ers offense, no McCaffrey, all that stuff, he was still going over this number. And he hit the over last year. Barely, but he hit it. And he didn't play every game last year either.
Yeah, he hit it. He was hurt. He was missing a lot of weapons. Over his last 2 seasons, he averaged 262.7 passing yards per game. That puts him on a 17-game pace for 4,466 passing yards, right? Well over this projected amount that he needs to hit in 3,800 yards. So he can even miss some games. He could be a little bit worse. Like that puts him that he only needs to play about 14 and a half games at this pace to hit it. And we're worried about the defense, right? So he might have to throw a little bit more. So I definitely think I would take the over on this.
By the way, that 4,400-yard number that you mentioned, that would break Brock's own record for the single season 49ers passing yardage record. It would smash it. So there's competing arguments here, right? You've got, well, the defense might not be good, so Brock may have to throw more, which would help him. But then, as you were talking about, the questions in the wide receiver room, does that hurt him? And how do you balance those two things? Like, which of those two things has the bigger impact? I think it's probably the defense not necessarily being good. I think that Brock will be able to put up yardage throwing to whoever because Kyle will just get dudes open.
And also, like, remember, even if, like, let's say this defense better than normal, he doesn't have to pass a ton. He only had 444 pass attempts in 2023 when he put up 4,280 yards, right? Mm-hmm. He doesn't need a ton of pass attempts when you're throwing to a guy like George Kittle and when you're in Kyle Shanahan's offense, right? That just gets you those big chunk plays. So he doesn't need a ton of volume. I just, this number is way too low and I can't see him not hitting it unless he misses, a handful of games.
Chris, Mr. 49er on YouTube says under, they're going to run the ball more this year, but you just explained like he doesn't need necessarily a ton of attempts to get his production. That this offense has been very efficient when he's been running it, so that even with limited attempts, he's putting up big yardage. So I don't even know that the amount of runs necessarily matters. In some ways, it might help make him more efficient because they can do play action and stuff like that. I think the only thing that can slow this down is injuries. I think if he's healthy, I think he's hitting this over.
Absolutely. And I think he can still even miss 2 games and still hit the over, right? It doesn't mean he has to stay completely healthy all year long. Like if this was like right on the cusp where he needed to stay healthy for 17 games, then I would say take the under because that's just too close. But like we saw from last year, when he struggled and was hurt and didn't have his weapons and missed 2 games, he still hit this over. And so if you're telling me, guys are healthier, he's healthier, he can miss a couple games and you're still going to feel good about this, I don't know how you take the under.
I like that there is sort of the built-in cushion that you mentioned there. Even if, let's get crazy here, even if the Niners have the division locked up or their seed locked up and they just bench him the last week of the season just because they don't want to risk injury, he could still potentially do it. Heineman says, I think their passing game is going to struggle big time in the first 4 to 6 weeks. Oh, whoops. Oh, sorry. I was all set to do a nice smooth transition to the full screen of the schedule and I screwed it up. I apologize. Let's look at the first 4 to 6 weeks. You've got Seattle, New Orleans, Arizona, Jacksonville, the Rams, and then the Bucs. Some games in there, you would think maybe the Rams game, the passing total will be a little lower. The Bucs, maybe they're a playoff team, but like they could feast on some of those early defenses the first 4 weeks.
Yeah, I don't know why we would think they're going to struggle the first 4 weeks. We saw last year again, he was putting up big passing yard numbers without Brandon Ayuk, with Deebo Samuel struggling. It's not like he's going to miss those guys, I think, all too much. Yeah, he's going to have that extra connection with Ricky Pearsall. Hopefully they use George Kittle more. He has CMC back to pass to and get those, cheap yardage that he didn't have last year. I'm not worried. It's just not even a question to me. I'd take this over.
Purdy was 3rd in yards per attempt, 4th in success rate, and 5th in EPA per attempt last year. And he had the NFL's best completion rate on passes 10 yards or more down the field. I know the wide receiver room is a little dicey maybe in the first 4 to 6 weeks, Heineman, but not enough to scare me. I would say that. I think we are in agreement on that one. Let's go to the Brock Purdy touchdowns. Another fancy full screen that I messed up again. Sorry. Brock Purdy passing touchdowns. His projected total for 2025 is 23.5 passing touchdowns. He had 20 last year, 31 the year before that, and 13 in 5 starts as a rookie. Michelle, you taking the over on Brock Purdy touchdown passes?
This one's hard. This one's really hard. Now, he started off his career with such a great pass touchdown percent. He was over 7%. He was at a 7% touchdown rate. In 2023, 7.6 in his short rookie season when he got those 13 passing touchdowns in that few starts. But only 20 last year. His touchdown percent went down. Like, how many is Kittle going to catch? How many is Pearsall going to catch? I do think with CMC back, that's going to help his pass touchdown numbers in the red zone, right? And around the goal line. So I think I can give him 4 more than last year. I'm going to go with the over, but this one I do not feel super confident on.
First of all, Levin is in the chat. He says more Michelle, less Robbie, which shut up, Levin. Don't need to see any of that. I'm taking the over on this one. And the reason is because the offense was so pathetic in the red zone, Michelle. If they had just been average in the red zone last year, he's going to crush this over. They were so bad. I got to think with Christian McCaffrey back, I know he'll get a lot of rushing touchdowns when they get to the red zone, but he'll also get a lot of receiving touchdowns. I have to think he is going to be better than the 20 touchdown. I mean, 20 touchdowns. That's like, God, that is so bad. He's definitely capable of more. We saw it with the 31 in 2023. Again, maybe this is my blind optimism taking over, but I don't anticipate them being that bad in the red zone 2 straight years. And if they're just average, he's going to hit the over.
He should. And we're going to be very disappointed if he doesn't hit this over, right? If he has another year of under 24 passing touchdowns after paying him, that's going to feel really, really bad. So I fully expect that he will hit this over, But maybe Christian McCaffrey goes off for another 20, like for 20 rushing touchdowns or whatever, and steals all of them. I highly doubt it. If I had to go one way, I'd be taking the over.
The other thing I don't really know the answer to is like how, with no Debo there, and Debo's not going to be there, does that change what Kyle does in the red zone? He didn't get a ton of red zone targets last year. I'm just trying to think through this. I don't know. I got to think he's going to be better. Kittle will be featured in the red zone more. We got to see which of these receivers can do it in the red zone, because Debo could not do it in the red zone in terms of just getting open on man coverage. Can Pearsall be that guy? Can Jauan Jennings be that guy consistently? I don't know, but I think somehow, some way, I got to believe Brock Purdy can throw 24 touchdown passes. I mean, God, they play 17 games. That's not asking for much. That's kind of a low bar here.
It is. And we really need to be asking for 24 passing touchdowns with that contract, right? You can't be paying a guy that much money if he can't have 25 touchdowns. I mean, Jordan Love last year threw 25. Aaron Rodgers threw 28. Bo Nix threw 29. Sam Darnold threw 35. Jared Goff threw 37. Baker Mayfield 41. Yeah, Brock Purdy needs to. I'm with you. Like, he needs to hit this over.
He damn well better. God, some of those names and number. I mean, Sam Darnold. Holy hell, that's unbelievable. So yeah, Brock, let's see it. Plus, I think that there is some awareness on Brock's part of sort of what went wrong last year and how he can be better this season. I think he will. Like I saw the stat. I loved the stat that he stopped throwing to the running backs last year. And we knew that, but like literally in 2023, a quarter of all targets went to running backs. Last year, 11% of targets went to running backs. Sometimes in the red zone, the damn check down is open, or you scramble a little and the defense sort of forgets about the running back in the flat. We saw that a couple of times with Brock when he first became the starter. Like, I think that is going to help open everything up. I think he realizes where he went wrong last year. I expect a much better Brock Purdy in 2025.
And even if he's not targeting Christian McCaffrey in the red zone or near the goal line, that still opens up other players, right? Because defenses have to be worried about CMC catching the ball much more than they had to worry about Jordan Mason last year. So that should help. That should help too.
Speaking of Christian McCaffrey, I didn't have time to make the graphic for this one, so I apologize. They don't have a ton of Christian McCaffrey over-unders up on the website, but the McCaffrey over-under that I saw was his rushing total, and this is the scariest number of all the numbers that we're going to talk about today. His rushing over-under is 950.5 yards this season. I think we can all agree it's all about health. If he plays, he's going to hit the over. Does he play?
Yes. I mean, we can't go in thinking no, right? Then what are we even doing here? I mean, Christian McCaffrey right now, they're saying he's healthy. They're saying he's showing bursts. So, I mean, I think with any running back that you're going to bet on or any player, you have to worry about health. And I don't think it's fair just to worry about Christian McCaffrey that much more just because, of last year. If anything, last year, maybe he got the rest he needed and he'll be healthier than a guy that, like a Barkley or a Bijan Robinson who got so many touchdowns last year.
56 yards per game to hit the over. That's what we're talking about here. Christian McCaffrey, he's going to get 56 yards a game because he's going to get 25 carries a game. Like, Kyle's going to use him. I think that maybe slightly we'll see a little less usage, at least if they happen to be having bigger leads late in games. I think you'll see Kyle be a little more conservative with him, but that still is no reason he shouldn't get 56 yards per game. I'm going to take the plunge, hold my nose and take the plunge and say that Christian McCaffrey is going to play enough games to hit the over, but this is the one I really have agita about.
Yeah, I mean, that's 500 rushing yards fewer than what he had in 2023 in 16 games played. He put up 1,459 rushing yards that year. So we could say his production might fall off. Maybe he gets a little bit less usage. Maybe he misses a game or two, but it's still a 500-yard leeway.
Again, I do like the cushions. That always makes me feel better. That is the way I get suckered into all of these. Oh, even if they're worse, like that's not how it works at all. But in my stupid brain, that is how it works.
So and what did you say? He needed 56 rushing yards per game?
Yes.
To hit this. There's only been 2 years in his career that he didn't hit that average. That was last year, which that includes the Bills game, which he left really early, right? So that's going to bring down his average. And then 2017, his rookie season. So every year after his rookie season until last year, he was destroying that average.
Even in the years that he got hurt.
Well, the average, yeah. I mean, it just counts per game basis. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, but yeah, again, it's just literally health. That's the only thing that will stop that from happening. That is the one. I wish they had touchdown. Like, I think I would bet a total touchdown number for McCaffrey over a rushing touchdown number just because I would feel better. But again, like if he's on the field, I expect double-digit touchdowns at least from Christian McCaffrey.
Scrimmage touchdowns, yeah.
Yes.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Just give me, 7 or 8 rushing touchdowns and 5 or 6 receiving touchdowns. They need him to. That he's the center of the offense. And I still think he'll be the center of the offense despite the Brock Purdy contract. This is the smart thing to do. And Kyle has shown no inclination to not do that when 23 has been on the field.
And again, if you're thinking that the 49ers are going to win this division and, make it far in the playoffs, that means Christian McCaffrey had to stay healthy, I think. And that means that he hit this over.
Christian, take my Achilles if you need them. I can tell you they're barely used because all I do is sit in this chair all day long. If you need them, they're here for you. Next up, and this is the last guy we're going to look at today, but there's a couple of juicy numbers here. Mr. George Kittle. His projected totals for this year are 900.5 yards receiving and 6.5 touchdowns. He better hit the over on both of these, especially early in the year. He could get 400 of these 900 receiving yards in the first month of the year, Michelle, with the spotty wide receiver situation.
He should. You got to take the over on the receiving yards. I mean, each of the last 2 years, he's easily hit that 1,100 yards last year, 1,020 yards the year prior, and he missed 2 games last year. And you're talking about only getting 94 targets and 90 targets. And we expect those targets to increase. Like they have to increase this year. He should be the focal point of this offense. Even when Ayuk is back, I want this offense to go through George Kittle. He leads the league in yards per target over the last 2 seasons. That's among all positions, not just tight ends. It's insane. Get him more targets. But the thing is, even if his targets don't increase, he's still gonna hit this over because he had 200 more yards than this last year, while missing 2 games and only having 94 targets. He would only have to average 54 yards per game if he plays a full season. And he averages 68 yards per game over the last 2 seasons.
And there are some games where he'll get over 54 yards on 2 catches. He might only have 2 catches in a game and he'll still hit that sort of benchmark that he needs to hit. So I agree. I think he'll be over on the yardage. The touchdowns are interesting. George traditionally has not been a massive touchdown guy in his career. Now, to be fair, since Brock took over, he's been much better at that. 40% of George Kittle's career touchdowns have come with Brock Purdy at quarterback, and Brock's only been the starter since 2022. So they have had a connection inside the red zone that George did not have with other 49ers quarterbacks. 8 touchdowns last year, 6 in 2023, which would not have hit this over, and then the 11, of course, in 2022. The touchdown number to me is scarier than the yardage number.
Yeah, the last 3 years it's been 8, 6, and 11. I will say, if you're confident in Brock Purdy's over 23.5, then George Kittle's going to have at least 7, 8, 9, 10 touchdowns, right? There's just not enough weapons to go around to make up that number. If he doesn't, I think he probably gets to 8 this year.
I feel like Kittle's red zone touchdowns, not his other touchdowns, because sometimes he just catches the ball, runs 15 yards and scores. But a lot of his red zone touchdowns, it's in my memory, come from off-schedule stuff. Come from Brock drops back, he looks, first read's not open, or maybe the first read is open, but there's pressure and he's got to scramble around. He and Brock seem to have a pretty good connection when it comes to that particular situation in the red zone. So how many times is that going to happen? And then how many times can they connect? That might be a factor as to whether or not he hits this number, but I don't care if it's damn screen passes to the tight end or shovel passes. They like to do the little shovel pass. George has to hit these over. What is the point of having him on your team if you're not going to use him and let him hit these numbers? But like we said, Vegas isn't usually wrong, and that's where they have him projected.
Yeah, that's low. I think he's going to absolutely destroy the yardage. Like, I think this is going to be one of George Kittle's best years of his career. I don't know if he'll beat that 2018 average or that 2018 number when he put up, nearly 1,400 receiving yards at 1,377. But I do think this will be over 1,200 type of receiving yard season for him.
Wow. Okay, that would be substantial. I'm here for it, man. Let him ride it out early in the year. He should be the number one target in the red zone. He should be the number one target everywhere. Like, even if Brandon Ayuk is 100% Brandon Ayuk, which it's not fair to expect, and I don't expect that. But even if you could tell me I could transport the Ayuk from 2023 there, I don't even know that he's best used as the highest volume target guy. I think he's really best used as the way that they used him that year, which was, hey, we're going to not throw to him a ton, but when we throw to him, we're going to complete it and we're going to gash you for 18 yards per catch. I honestly think that's where he can be most effective.
I would also just love him to see 150 targets in a season like Travis Kelce does.
George, you're saying George?
Yeah.
I'm here for it. Sean Turner says Kittle jet sweep with Trent out front blocking. They have done that a couple of times in the past. Maybe not recently, but I do remember a couple sweeps to George Kittle. Heineman says over and over, easy money. Chris says Shanahan needs to scheme plays for Kittle in the red zone. The Niners offense feeds off of Kittle. It doesn't seem like they do scheme plays for him in the red zone. Now, maybe it's just the other team is constantly double teaming him. I don't know. But I always felt like they could have targeted him more in the red zone. Although, to be fair, he did lead the team in red zone targets last season.
But yeah, it should also be, like we said, easier, even though he did only have 6 in 2023 with Christian McCaffrey playing all of that time. So maybe it is Christian McCaffrey taking those targets away from Kittle near the goal line. But you would also think it helps Kittle get more open. So it's a kind of, you don't know which way it's going to go. But 6.5, he really has to hit 7 touchdowns. Come on.
The other part of this, too, is let's not forget, Christian McCaffrey had 21 touchdowns when they went to the Super Bowl in 2023. That is absurdly good. You have to think, even if Christian McCaffrey is 100%, he's not going to be that successful again, because that's really hard to be that successful in the red zone multiple times in a career. Like, so you would just think naturally the opportunities for Kittle in the red zone will be greater, just because Christian McCaffrey, you would think a safe bet is him not having 2 historically good seasons in the red zone in his career.
What type of numbers do you think Kittle would put up if he saw 140 targets next year?
I think he would be a threat to break the tight end receiving record every year. I really do. Like, he's so damn good. You could throw him the ball short and he'll break 3 tackles and pick up 15 yards, or you can get him open deep and he can gash you for a 20-yard play. All that was missing from George Kittle is opportunity. And it's kind of sad in a way, because he's going to retire and hopefully he gets into the Hall of Fame anyway. But years from now, people are going to talk about George Kittle and they're going to compare him to other tight ends. And they're going to be like, well, he's not that good. He didn't put up that many touchdowns. He is that good. He just hasn't gotten the opportunity. But we're going to forget that because we forget the context as the years go by. Hell, people are still trying to argue that Jerry Rice isn't the greatest receiver of all time, and he has all the yards and the numbers. So that's the sad part about Kittle for me, is that years from now, people are not going to remember exactly how good this guy is.
I think they will. I think he'll be a Hall of Famer pretty easily. Now, he's going to have another big year here, maybe another 2 big years to be like a first ballot. But I think people will remember.
He is one of the, not the 49er most hurt by the fact that they lost both the Super Bowls, because I think Kyle is. But among players, Kittle is the one whose legacy was hurt the most by not getting at least 1 Super Bowl title. If he had 1 ring, he'd be lock it down first ballot, no question, because he's got really good numbers. Everybody loves George Kittle, right? The media, the whole thing, like everybody loves him. If he had the ring, he could show up to week 1 against the Seahawks in a gold jacket because he would have it by now. But of course, we know they didn't. And so he's not quite there yet.
And I also just don't think Super Bowl championships are that important to a tight end position. Like when you're talking about quarterback, yeah, if you don't have one, even though you have the big numbers, it's going to be hard to be a first ballot. But with a tight end, I don't think they look at Super Bowls as much.
I don't know. I think they do. I could be wrong. I'm not in those rooms, but I think that would be just the little cherry on top of the sundae for George Kittle. I like this comment from Benali, who says, I appreciated Michelle's take on Purdy versus Love on Locked On yesterday. Would pay real US dollars to watch her shut down Peter Bukowski.
He won't come on with me. He's too scared.
Have you asked him to come on Locked On?
Yeah. Well, I asked him to do a show. I don't know if specifically Locked On, but
well, I know you asked him to do our show when you had, I don't even remember the poor bastard's name we had on that covered the Packers, but you annihilated him. And I think at that point, I don't think anybody wants to come on with you. I think you scared everybody off.
Well, because now it would be really impossible to try to say Jordan Love's better.
I'm sure Peter would find a way. I love Peter, for the record. Like I'm a fan.
Oh, he'd be much better competition than whoever the other guy was. Yeah.
Well, the other guy didn't prepare. I think it was pretty obvious too. Peter would definitely come prepared.
Yeah.
It also led to one of your all-time favorite bloopers that I'm not going to repeat, but it involved having both people on the show at the same time. I have the audio of that, which I will forever treasure. But yeah, that was, sometimes we say things and as soon as they come out of our mouth, we literally wish you could just reel them back in. But that is not the case when you talk for a living.
I feel like it happens to me more than it should.
Well, and of course, I never let one go by without letting you hear about it.
There's so many times now I have to think in my head, like, can I use these words in this order?
Kenny says, let's get Jake Ellenbogen on. He's my favorite Rams content creator. He and I usually do the preview shows when he comes on. I think Jake is pretty realistic. I think most Rams fans are pretty realistic about Stafford. In terms of arm talent and all that stuff, like, he's incredible. But in terms of the actual production on the field, the last few years for Stafford hasn't been great. Like, he was awesome his first year with the Rams, but since then, the actual production on the field has been okay.
We just got a comment that said, Rob, you shaved. I didn't even realize it. You shaved.
I did shave. I was going to wait until training camp started, but happy wife, happy life is the saying. And let's just say shaving was going to lead to that. So there we go.
There you go.
I don't like it. I'm not going to be, I'm not going to lie. I shaved it off and I was like, I think I look weird now. Like, this used to be my face all the time. And yet I had a goatee for like a month. And now all of a sudden I got used to that. And I think I look weird or weirder.
I didn't even notice you shaved it. So
there you go. Diego says, Michelle is Packers content creator Slayer. I do like that. That would be a little long to put up on your little blurb on the screen, but maybe we could do it once in a while. Kenny says, Jake Ellenbogen is a fun dude. Gronk identified him as a 49ers super fan, though, which was fun. Yeah, this just in. Don't trust AI for everything. Heineman says, a few mimosas and those dudes are destroyed. That was like maybe our most successful show. People enjoyed that so much, which was, I enjoyed it too. I was kind of sitting back because I don't even think I was on that show, right? I was just behind the scenes and it was, it was an annihilation.
What do you want me to say? Yeah.
I mean,
say something.
Generally. Yeah, this is the part where you talk, Michelle. That's usually how this thing goes. Anyway, that's going to do it for this edition of the show. Our final pre-training camp edition of the show. I am very much, I know we won't have it for another couple weeks, but for anyone that's just joining us that doesn't know, during the season, our show on Fridays is a fantasy and a betting show. We talk about all the 49ers projected fantasy numbers for the week. We do our best bets, which we've been very good doing our best bets. Last year, we killed it. Even in a down year, we had a good year. That's normally what we do on Fridays. We can't quite get back to it yet, but that is normally what we do. So if this is your first time checking us out, thank you. Please like this video. Subscribe to the channel. If you want more from Michelle, like she said, every day, Locked On Fantasy, you can go check her out there. You can get all the fantasy rankings. Fire and Ice, which apparently is extremely popular. I need to look at Michelle's rankings because I'm a terrible fantasy football player. But anything you could possibly want is there. So go and check that out. Michelle, as always, I have to ask you before we go, what do you got going on this weekend?
You know, it's going to be a chill weekend. Going to watch I have a lot of TV to catch up on.
Like what?
Oh, I have to catch up on Big Brother. I have to catch up on The Valley. I have to catch up on Love Island. Well, I finished Love Island, but Love Island after the Villa. A lot of trash TV is what I'm saying.
You know, I'm not gonna say, but I feel like these last couple of weeks I've been asking you what you got going on, and your life has gotten significantly less interesting.
My sister was in town last weekend and we lived it up way too much. So this is like I need a break, you know?
Recovery weekend.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. Thank you everybody for watching. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.
Bye, y'all.